This video is not about slating Airbnb or criticising anyone who rents out their properties on the site, especially those just trying to make some extra cash by renting their places or rooms out for a few weeks a year. I have used Airbnb myself and had a great experience in doing so. And also to remind you, if you like these videos, please do subscribe. Founded in August of 2008 and based in San Francisco, California, Airbnb is a website where people can book accommodation around the world on a short-term basis with the cost decided by the renter. Airbnb then take a fee to host the transactions and ads, etc. In Ireland, its activity has increased exponentially, especially the number of properties available in the capital city, Dublin. So with these rising numbers on Airbnb, in a country that is gripped by a housing and homelessness crisis, a spotlight has been turned on it. If you go to the website Inside Airbnb, which is an independent, non-commercial set of tools and data that allows you to explore how Airbnb is really being used in major cities around the world, the data from February 2017 for Dublin showed that there were 6,729 listings, of which 47% of them were entire homes. While Inside Airbnb is a great source of free data, it doesn't go in depth to look at properties that are rented out for a total of 90 days a year. 90 days a year or anything above that could be damaging to the long-term residential renting market. In June of 2017, Airbnb told the Housing Oireachtas Committee a couple of interesting things. 85% of hosts in Dublin only have one entire home listing. Taking a snapshot of Airbnb platform on June 1st, 2017, 1,432 hosts had only one entire home listing. Just 36 had more than 5. But for me, this is an amazing insight. To find out that 36 hosts have 5 homes or more on Airbnb. By the way, 5 or more is it 6? Is it 10? Is it 15? But let's be conservative and say it's 5. So 36 hosts have 180 properties available on Airbnb in the Dublin area alone. In the same statement, it said, the point at which short-term rentals become potentially more lucrative for a landlord than long-term rentals is also higher than often assumed. That's in Airbnb's opinion. Their analysis suggests that the tipping point lies around 185 nights per year, depending on the neighbourhood. That seems a little high to me. They continue to say that only 550 entire home properties were booked via Airbnb for more than 160 nights. I think that is another admission that needs to be looked at. So for 160 nights or more, 550 properties in the Dublin area were out of the long-term rental market. Those 550 houses, in my opinion, are definitely contributing to the critically low vacancy rate, which is in turn driving up rents. But a lot of people say it is too much hassle for landlords to have Airbnb all year round. But they don't have to fear that too much anymore. Airbnb management involves anything from providing a key exchange for guests to providing visitors a welcome pack. In fact, in exchange for a cut of the profit, a landlord can just hand over the keys, then sit back and collect a paycheck at the end of the month with no further interaction. They promote the idea of renting out Airbnb rather than renting in the residential market. They state there are over 11,000 Airbnb property listings in Ireland, and last year over 330,000 guests came to stay. Dublin City apartments can earn 150 to 200 a night, and popular Airbnb properties can yield double the income of a long-term residential letting. But would regulation on the usage of Airbnb help free up much-needed houses? Regulations have already come in other EU cities, and while there is difficulties enforcing them, there are steps being taken. I talked to Kevin Flanagan, who is based in Barcelona, to find out more.
So there's a number of things going on in Barcelona at the moment. So the city is suffering from a housing crisis. Of course, part of that is the sort of drawn out results of the economic crisis, increasingly over the last 2 years. The sort of phenomena of short-term, that is sort of holiday rentals, with sort of Airbnb being one of the sort of best known examples of that, have become a focus, and there's a lot of questions about the impact that they're having on communities in the city. So Airbnb has, in particular, has become a target or a symbol of this increase in short-term rentals. Over the last few years, since the introduction of Airbnb, huge amounts of private rental, that is apartments, full houses, has transferred over from being in the private rental market into the short-term letting for holidays, for tourists. Okay, so the thing there is that what used to be places where people live on a long-term basis, that is housing for people who live and work in Barcelona, has now become a short-term accommodation for tourists. This is one of the reasons communities have started to organize in the city to look for some sort of regulation. So since December 2016, Barcelona City Council have brought in a requirement for a permit. What we see now is that there is a big push for regulation in cities like Amsterdam, in Berlin, in Paris. Over the last year and a half, 2 years, there's been a lot of discussion about that in Ireland, but we have yet to see action to be taken on that end. So in a city like Dublin, which is experiencing a housing crisis and a homelessness crisis, it's not to say that companies like Airbnb are the primary cause of all these issues, but they have a role to play, and so we have to really think about what can be done. Do we need regulation? Does this sector need to be regulated? If houses and apartments are being rented out on a commercial basis, I think they do need to be regulated. Yeah.
Airbnb's cosy relationship with Ireland won't exactly enthuse many politicians to impose regulations, considering Airbnb's European headquarters is in Dublin, and that it has lobbied Irish politicians 45 times over the last 18 months according to the lobbying register, including private meetings between its chief financial officer and former Minister for Finance Michael Noonan. Laying the blame on Airbnb and other hosting sites for the housing crisis in Dublin or any other city seems a bit ridiculous. But what is also ridiculous is that it is having no impact at all. It is not the responsibility of Airbnb or any other private company to solve the housing crisis in Dublin. That responsibility lies solely with the policymakers. In the short term, I think some regulation on Airbnb, especially those on 90 nights and above, should be enforced to help alleviate the serious housing and homelessness crisis that we have in this country.